Okay, so have you ever stopped to wonder what really makes your IB school an IB school? I mean, it's got to be more than just the subjects you take or the final exams, right? Well, it is. Behind absolutely everything you experience, from your classroom debates to your big final projects, there's this hidden framework, a kind of secret architecture. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that framework, the program standards and practices, or as we'll call it, the PSP. Let's get into it. So, to really get what the PSP is all about, let's start with this thought from Erin Albright, who actually works at the IB. She said when she first read these standards, it felt like a gift, this incredible vision for what a school could be. But she noticed that over time, for a lot of schools, that feeling faded. It just became a boring checklist of things to do. And that right there, that's the big question for us today. Is this whole framework a creative gift, or is it just a chore for your school to get through? So, a gift or a chore? Really, it all comes down to how you look at it. You can see it as a checklist, which is all about compliance, ticking boxes, just getting tasks done. But the IB, they really want schools to see it as a blueprint, something creative, something that's alive and always changing, something that's focused on building the best possible learning experience for you. At the end of the day, it's not supposed to be a list of chores. It's a guide for building something really, really special. All right, so if it's a blueprint, what's it actually building? Well, the entire framework rests on four huge pillars that basically define every single part of your IB school. Let's break them down one by one. But before we even get to the pillars, you gotta get this one core idea. The IB sees your school as a living, breathing ecosystem, not just a collection of classrooms and teachers and books. The PSP is the tool that helps your school see how all those little pieces, the mission, the library, the way teachers talk to each other, are all connected and work together to create one big functioning whole. First up, we've got pillar one, purpose. This is the big one. This is the why. Why does your school even exist? This pillar is all about making sure that your school's core mission and its values are totally in sync with the IB's huge goal to create a better and more peaceful world through education. It's kind of like the North Star for everything else the school does. Next up, pillar two, the environment. This is the where and the with what. It's all about the actual physical stuff your school needs to have in place to support you. We're talking about your classrooms, the library, the tech you use, but it also means the less obvious things, like making sure there's enough funding and that your teachers have dedicated time to plan together and get the support they need. Then there's culture. Pillar three is the how of your school. This is the vibe, the atmosphere you feel when you walk in the door. It's shaped by the official written rules, like the policy on academic integrity, but it's also about the unwritten stuff, how your school genuinely celebrates diversity, how it looks after your well-being, and how it actually lives out those IB learner profile traits every single day. And finally, we get to the absolute heart of it all, learning. This is the what. This is where all those other pillars come together to shape what you actually do in class. This pillar is the one that makes sure your education is built on those core IB ideas of asking great questions, taking action, and reflecting on what you've learned. It's what's designed to make you a learner for life. Okay, so we've got the four big pillars: purpose, environment, culture, and learning. But how do these huge ideas actually turn into what you do every day at school? Well, it happens through a really clear structure that goes from these broad concepts layer by layer down to the super specific details. What's so cool is how this blueprint is put together. It's not just a giant rulebook. It actually flows from big ideas down to tiny details. So at the very top, you have these big aspirational standards. Then you have practices, which are the different ways a school can meet those standards. Then it gets serious. You have the requirements. These are the absolute non-negotiables that every single IB school has to do. And finally, you get to the specifications. And this is where it gets really personal for you. That final layer is probably the most important part for you as a student. Program-specific specification. Yeah, it sounds a little corporate, right? But what it really means is that this is where the blueprint gets custom tailored for your exact stage of education. So what does that actually look like in real life? This is a perfect example. Okay, so there's one single non-negotiable requirement that says all IB students have to pull together everything they've learned in a final project. Simple enough. But now, look at how that one rule is specified for each program. If you're in the PYP, that's the exhibition. If you're in the MYP, it becomes your personal project. For the DP, it's the famous extended essay. And in the CP, it's the reflective project.
See, it's the exact same core idea, but it's been perfectly designed for where you are on your learning journey. Now, this blueprint isn't some document that was written once and then stuck in a drawer. No way. It's a living, breathing guide that's designed to help your school constantly get better. Let's take a look at how that actually works. The official name for this is program development. But honestly, that's just a fancy way of saying that your school is a learning organization, just like you're a learner. It's not about being perfect on day one. It's about a commitment to always getting better for you guys, the students. And to do this, your school uses this really simple but powerful cycle. First, it starts with inquiry, asking questions like, hey, what could we be doing better for our students? Then comes action, actually trying a new strategy or a new approach. And finally, it closes the loop with reflection, looking at the results, getting feedback, and asking, did that actually work, and what did we learn? And then the whole cycle starts all over again. And trust me, this isn't just theory they talk about in meetings. This cycle is how real change happens that you can actually feel. Your school is constantly looking at student data, listening to feedback from you and from teachers, and setting goals that are all aimed at one thing, making your time in the classroom better, more supportive, and more powerful. So, we've talked about the blueprint, the pillars, the improvement cycle, a lot of stuff. But let's bring it all home and answer the most important question. Why does any of this actually matter to you sitting in your class every single day? Let's just boil it down. What does this blueprint really get you? Well, for one, it's the reason your teachers have dedicated scheduled time to actually plan your lessons together. It guarantees that your curriculum makes sense from one year to the next. It makes sure there are clear systems in place to support you, both with your schoolwork and with your well-being. And maybe most importantly, it's the engine that drives constant, meaningful improvement in your classes. So when you put it all together, you realize this whole framework isn't some dusty old document sitting in the principal's office. It's the invisible architecture of your entire education. It's in the way your projects are designed, the kind of support you get when you're struggling, and the way your teachers collaborate. The blueprint is literally all around you. So the real question to walk away with is this. Now that you know it exists, where can you see it in action at your school?